good, bitches? I am the almighty fucking massa creature. So 3 things I love about myself. First is my shameless sense of passion. If I'm passionate about something, I remain unashamed and I'm never silenced. I don't take into consideration people contradicting me, disagreeing with me, criticizing me, or condemning me. If I have something that needs to be said, shared, or stood up for, I'm going to be loud and clear about it. I don't let anyone detain me from being true to myself. I love looking the way I want and saying the things I want. Another thing I value about myself is my skepticism. I'm just naturally skeptical about anything and everything, and I'm proud of that cognitive function I possess. If someone ever told you something, you should always question it. If someone told you you're a bad person, are you going to believe it? If someone sent you a chain mail that said someone was going to appear in your room tonight and kill you, if you don't send the mail to 10 more people, are you going to believe it? Some people do believe that shit. They think it's the unequivocal truth just because it's disheartening, but never take someone's word for granted just because the person appears to be knowledgeable of their word. If someone looks at you and says it's wrong or it's a sin to be gay or to listen to metal or to wear a lot of fucking black, are you going to believe it? I'm not saying the person is wrong or right, but you should always give something a more than adequate quantum of evaluation and investigation before you actually absorb it into your mind. That's what skepticism is. It keeps people alive, and sane for that matter. Think for yourself. Be a skeptic. Now, being a skeptic doesn't mean that you're a fucking atheist. Skepticism can apply to any faith or lack thereof. Skepticism can coexist with any belief or disbelief. And if you're a skeptical thinker, be proud of it, because not everyone has the courage to think twice about something because they're too afraid of being judged by mortal or immortal entities. Another thing I love is my writing. If there is any skill I consider superior to any other that I possess, it's my writing. At times, I'm more sophisticated in my vocabulary than other times, but the meaning of my words is a bigger priority than just fancy vocabulary. I could just as dexterously formulate a composition of exorbitantly embellished literary symbols to render me perceivably concurrent to a vessel of douche, but I don't give enough fucks to do so. It's my command of the English language that has caused so many of my fans to tell me that I've inspired them in some way, shape, or form, and I don't expect a single reward out of it. It pays for itself. I use YouTube as a form of expression primarily, but I also hope to think that I can use my written expression to entertain my audience and even encourage them to just be the people they want to be without fear or shame. I'm currently reading from my own written word right now. The delivery of my message wouldn't be as strong and eloquent as it is if I didn't collect my thoughts prior to speaking them. I really suck at saying shit at the top of my head. I always pause in mid-sentence and I say fucking and like way too much for my own satisfaction. I write my videos, I write my poems, I write my songs, I write my stories, etc. And I prefer to utilize that in the most efficient manner possible, regardless of how much people disapprove of me. 3 things that I would change. First is my obsessive-compulsive disorder. I can't pass a rug without having to make sure it's right in the middle of the fucking hallway. If I change the volume on the TV, I'll repeatedly change it back and forth to look at the number of the volume over and over again to convince my mind I'm not imagining a different number than what I'm seeing. If I turn it to 15, I'll go back from 14 to 15 to 16 to 15 to 14 excessively, because when it finally lands on the 15, I'm asking myself in my head if that really is 15 or if I'm being dyslexic, and I don't even have dyslexia. I count excessively. Take the Triforce from Legend of Zelda. I'll count power, wisdom, and courage for about 2 minutes straight, going power, wisdom, courage, power, wisdom, courage, power, wisdom, courage, to tell my mind that there's actually 3 of those words in the Triforce, and I already know that there are, hence the Tri in Triforce. Right before I get on the computer, I have to count all the blinds right here in front of my sliding glass door when I already know that there are 24 of them. Pretty fucking sad. When I turn on the fan in the bathroom, I'll switch it on and off constantly to tell my mind that I'm really turning it on. It's a really stupid ass thing about my mind that makes absolutely no sense, but it's a part of me, and I'm too proud to get myself evaluated or medicated, and I'm therefore digging my own grave. Another thing I dislike is that I take my mistakes way too seriously. I'm unable to forgive myself for certain mistakes I make, like if I accidentally call a girl a name that's not her name. I will think about that shit for years. One time I called my friend Natasha Natalie, and I'm still pissed at myself for that, and that happened like a year ago. One time I volunteered to be a roadie at a local nightclub in Northern Virginia on a night when Mushroom Head was playing, And after Mushroom Head got done with their set, I was supposed to go on stage and start lifting their equipment off the stage and take it outside. And when they finished their set, I literally froze up because I was so nervous. I couldn't move. I was too fucking scared to stand on the same stage as Mushroom Head and touch their shit with them watching, because I was afraid I was going to drop something or touch something that they maybe didn't want me to touch. And when I was standing there on the side of the stage, doing absolutely nothing, one of the members of Mushroom Head yelled at me and said, "Are you gonna fucking help or just stand there all day?" Of course, I immediately started helping and helped him lift something that required 2 people. It might have been a drum or something, I can't exactly remember. But it's been 3 years since that shit happened, and I cannot forgive myself for that. I just have a scar on me from that moment, and whenever I think of Mushroom Head, I think of that guy yelling at me, and it's completely my fault. I don't know how to implement the function of self-forgiveness, and I wish I could. There are multitudinous other things that I've done in the past that haven't earned my self-forgiveness, but I'm not going to mention them because they're just too fucking personal. One last thing I wish I could change is my social anxiety. And when I say social anxiety, I don't mean I'm afraid of people looking at me or being around me. It's a kind of social anxiety that prevents me from looking for employment. One time I worked at Mattress Warehouse for about a day and a half as a stockman, and I stopped working there because for the day and a half I was working there, I worked without even furnishing any ID, birth certificate, or social security card. My friend just took me there one day and asked the employers if I could take his job because he was leaving for school, and they said I could. And they didn't even ask for any documents, and they didn't even give me an interview. And it took them a day and a half to fucking realize that. So after they told me to go home that day until I could furnish some identification, I discontinued working there until I could come back with my identification and shit, and I never came back. Because for the entire day and a half I was there, I was under one big fucking anxiety attack. When I'm in the working environment, I feel like the fate of the world depends on me. And if I make one minor error, then my entire life is ruined. If I make one mistake, then my job could be taken. And I don't have what it takes to endure that kind of rejection and humiliation. I don't have the courage to suffer consequences for failing things that my superiors expect me to do. When I worked there, I never had to tie a person's mattress onto their car, but that was one of the main things I thought about. I kept thinking about a time when my boss might ask me to tie a mattress onto a car, and I was afraid I'd fail. He demonstrated for me once or twice when customers would come and buy their mattresses, but I'm not a visual learner like most people. I learn by doing things by hand. I had this terrifying vision of me tying a mattress to a person's car and having that mattress fall off the car into oncoming traffic and causing some horrific accident. And I was too much of a pussy to go back to that store and risk that happening. I'm really not a rational person. My emotions conflict with about 99.99% of the shit I think about. I feel like if I got a job as a cashier somewhere, I would catch myself looking down the aisle and freaking out after seeing about 10 different people waiting in line to have me ring up their shit. And I don't like interacting with strangers. I may not mind them looking at me, but when they trust me to do something for them and when they actually interact with me, my heart just explodes in my chest. I doubt my ability to satisfy the requests of others when something I value is on the line, like my employment. I wish I was a more practical person, but I'm not. I wish I wasn't so anxious, and I wish I wasn't so obsessive, but I am. This video has been going on for over 23 minutes, and it's going to be condensed to something a lot shorter than that, because due to my obsessive-compulsive disorder, I have to say a sentence like 10 fucking times in a row before I'm actually satisfied with how I said it for it to actually be in the video. In the words of Slipknot from Blister Exists, I am the damaged one all my life and the damage done. We all wish we could be mentally immaculate with our behavior. I may be a person who just thinks way too much about everything, but I'm still fucking shameless. I am the Dark Lord Massacreature. And I lost my fucking goggles again. Much Biohazardous clown love, fam. One thing I've noticed is that the Juggalo family treats me better than anyone on the fucking planet. I really do fucking love you guys, and I'll never be ashamed to call myself a Juggalo. When the whole world gives me shit, I know in the end I'll always have you guys. Stick to your guns and light your own path. Biohazard.